Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer, Logan Landers, and join me here this afternoon to talk about the 2025 NFL Draft prospect, Landon Jackson, the edge rusher coming out of Arkansas, is my co-host today, Brian LaBelle. Brian, how you doing this afternoon? And give me your thoughts on this impressive prospect you've been watching film over here lately.
I think he's got a ton of talent. He's still a pretty raw prospect as far as like what he can do, and I think he's still trying to figure out his body and maybe trying to bulk up a little bit, which kind of can be awkward for him. But I mean, he's for his size, he's very quick, he's very strong, he's got good get off, and he gets after the ball carry very efficiently.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely kind of a force of nature, right? Whenever you see him on game footage, he definitely stands out. He's a very aggressive player. You see, he's got good speed, good power. He's got a good weight and size to him already. So he's just kind of a workhorse in the trenches right there for Arkansas. And he's put up some really good numbers for them, and he's been a really solid player for the Razorbacks. And I know that there's a lot of big name guys in this draft class. You mentioned Abdul Carter, James Pierce Jr., Mason Graham. But where do you think Landon Jackson kind of stacks up compared to those guys? Is he kind of middle of the pack, or do you think he just based on his performance, kind of what you've seen, has he moved up any after you've watched some of his film?
I mean, he had a good combine. I mean, that's all you can really do. But the problem is just if you watch him play, he still plays kind of awkward. You know what I mean? Like he's a little bit too big, like a baby giraffe, is what I like to say. You know what I mean? Like he's not quite grown into his body. I mean, he when he figures it out though, there's certain plays like, man, this kid is unblockable. But there's other plays where a lot of the prospects, or excuse me, a lot of the people that are looking at prospects, the draft gurus and experts are breaking down his film and what he does. He can't really bend a lot, but when you're 6'6", I think he's a little over 6'6". I mean, it's very hard to do that and play low to the ground. I think a team would probably want him to bulk up a little bit because he's like 265 right now, somewhere right around there. But I think you prefer him to probably be 15, 20 pounds heavier, play closer to maybe 280, 290 to be able to kind of clash with these offensive linemen, these tackles that are 310, 315 that can run, 4.8s, 4.9s as well. He's a little faster, but he's sub 4.7, which is phenomenal. But I mean, he gets after the quarterback. He had 6.5 sacks. I like what he brings to the table, but I mean, he in a edge dominant draft. I mean, he's still probably the fifth or sixth best guy on the board right now. So it's just kind of tough to see where he ends up. I mean, I don't really think it's a round one pick, but I think someone might get a steal, like maybe like late round two, round three, bringing him in.
He's definitely a guy I think that needs a little bit of fine tuning, right? You see the raw athleticism, you see the speed, you see, like you said, the quickness and the power that he has, and obviously the kind of standout game you're going to look at with this past season, when he had 8+ tackle, when he just looked great against Texas A&M, 8 tackles and 2 sacks against an Aggies team. So that's great competition they play there in the SEC. So you're going up against the highest caliber players all in all. He was he earned spot on the Nagurski Trophy, Chuck Bednarik Award. So I mean, all the major kind of defensive player awards, he was at least a nominee for them. So his name was mentioned in that talks. But like I say, he was unfortunately hurt against Missouri, so they cut his season short a little bit. But I think all in all, like you said, just a little bit of fine tuning, a little bit of tweaking. Like I said, maybe put on a little bit of weight, not a whole lot. And I think that Landon Jackson could be a solid player. Like I said, I don't see him being a day one type guy, but I think with maybe the right coaching staff and the right just defensive line group around him, he could really develop into something special. What do you think are some of the strengths that he has in his play?
Well, I mean, against the run, he was solid. I mean, a lot of times these guys that are very quick, because I mean, any edge player, the goal is you want to sack the quarterback, right? You want to get after the QB. But he was very good at holding position, setting the edge. He wasn't afraid to play the run. He did a good job against, yeah, because you got a lot of teams in the SEC that are run heavy and they're going to try to, ground and pound at you. And he was ready for it. He knew that, and they coached him up well at Arkansas to be able to handle that. But kind of being slimmer though, it is kind of hard to put yourself in there, and because especially because his size, because he's going to be at a disadvantage from because most offensive tackles are either going to be his height or 6'3", 6'4", maybe 6'5", so he's going to have to get low to get around these guys. But I mean, he when he gets going, he's throwing guys around. He's always around the ball. He's got a knack for it. He's not afraid of contact, which you get a lot of these leaner guys might be a little bit more afraid of contact. Some of these edge players that are kind of like, I want to get a sack or get the heck out of there. But I mean, he sticks his nose in there. He's not afraid to do it. I think that's a good quality to have. I think with the right coaching and if they get his body right, he gets more comfortable. I think he could be a very, very good player at the next level.
I think if you just train him up a little bit more, like we kind of been saying, that's kind of the key to success. Obviously, he's got a tremendous work ethic. He's in great shape, but
Yeah.
just add a little bit of weight to him, and I think that he could really kind of you can see his full potential play out in the NFL. He's versatile. He can play any kind of scheme you need him to. Seems like he can just slide in there and adapt. So he's got that going for him. And we have seen a lot of players in the NFL kind of adapt to more of a leaner style, on the edge and whatnot, more they value a little bit more quickness as compared to heavier weight and going up against guys who are 300 plus pounds. So just kind of depends on the team that they might want to add a couple of pounds, or heck, they might even just ask him to stay as is and just make sure he's nimble and he can get around the edge with that great speed he has. But I mean, definitely just a relentless motor, right? You never see him get gassed on the game.
Yeah.
He's not going to ever take himself out of a play. He's going to stick his head in there and get to the quarterback with, like he's done pretty much his entire career at Arkansas. But yeah, definitely a guy that I think that if you're looking for an edge rusher, someone who if you just give him a little bit of time, give him a season or two to see what he can do in training camp and kind of just get accustomed to the league, I think that he could really blossom into a really good edge rusher and someone who could be a really good pickup, later on throughout his NFL journey. Because I mean, like we mentioned a bunch of the other picks that might go a little bit higher than him in this draft might go day one or even before him in the other incoming rounds. But we've said it many a time. Sometimes it's not always the first round picks that pan out and that get the big money contract. Sometimes it's the guy that's taken round two, round three, round four that can really pan out and really show you what they're all about. But Brian, let's get your final thoughts here on the University of Arkansas's edge rusher Landon Jackson. Your just kind of final thoughts.
I think if he could fine tune some things, which we've been saying the whole time, I know it's beat a dead horse, but he could be kind of a steal late round, because I think he's got a lot of talent. I think based on the draft class, if he was last year, maybe next year, maybe he goes higher just based off his ranking. But that doesn't mean he's a bad player. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. He was holding his own against SEC competition in Arkansas. I mean, he was good. You can watch the tape. I don't want to say steal because I think he can play, but depending on where he falls, I mean, some team might get maybe not a day one starter, but a guy that can kind of plug in and rotate day one in round 3 or 4. I think it'd be kind of late to see him drop that low. But I mean, if he's there and you can, hey, we have a needed edge, why not?
Yeah, I think he's definitely someone who has a lot of good talent, and like we said, just get the right staff around him. I don't want him to be on a super young team that's kind of developing, because I don't think I think he'll still develop, but maybe not as quick as we think he could. But I think if you get him on a team, maybe with a veteran defensive coordinator, some guys who've been around the league for a minute, I think that could really he could really tap into that and really progress at an even faster rate. So I think all in all, I like Landon Jackson. He's fun to watch on film. He's a really explosive edge rusher. Like I said, if he just get his pass rush ability just a little bit more tweaked up, he's great at the edge rush and stuff on the run. But I think he's definitely sky's the limit for this kid. And Arkansas had a great run there, and now we're going to see if he can translate it into the next level. But for my co-host today, Brian LaBelle, appreciate you very much for coming on the show and doing a great job breaking down Landon Jackson, the edge rusher out of Arkansas. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Till next time, guys, we'll see you guys again on another live episode of 100